komiksoch.
How do you enjoy it here at Vienna Comic Con?
It's beautiful so far, right? I mean, we've only been at the Comic-Con for a few hours, but we've been in the city since Tuesday, and it's beautiful. We're having a really good time.
Yeah, we've done the Nacht Market, Belvedere, Palace,
Schönbrunn
Palace.
All very tourist things. We've been to lots of bars and restaurants, lots of food and drinking. So.
And beer.
Yeah, beer.
If you liked Vienna, you should go to Prague too.
I've been, and I love Prague.
Our taxi driver last night was Czech, and he said, Vienna, Prague. So, guess we'll go to Prague.
I love the bridge by the
Charles.
Yes, exactly. I remember my friend and I spent a lot of time there.
Is it your first time here at Vienna Comic Con?
Yes.
Do you happen to know if your art or English teacher from high school know about your achievements and how proud of you?
I don't know. The best one recently was so you know I write Daredevil for Marvel among other books, and Daredevil is a lawyer, and I went to a law school in New York City called Columbia, which is a great law school, and they on Twitter they started talking about my run on Daredevil, and I was so proud because it's a very kind of important law school in the States, and so that they were talking about my Daredevil run, I felt really good. So that was nice.
My my high school writing teacher, yes, I had a woman named Susan Sherman. I still remember, who when I was about in 10th grade, I started doing creative writing, and she wrote me a note when I started on Batman. It's very sweet. Yeah. So no, I still use. She gave me the best advice ever too. Her advice was, write the story that you would like to pick up today and that would inspire you the most. It doesn't matter if it's funny, sad, political, but that would mean the most to you today, no matter what it is. And I still use that when I teach my class with DC.
I'm sure she's really proud.
Yeah, or she's like, congratulations, I don't read comics. So who knows?
Let me know when you write something real.
Right.
Do you get reactions like this, that some people assume that comics is not like real writing or reading?
It still happens, but they're wrong. They're very wrong. I don't know. People don't always comics. We all love comics so much, but comics is also sort of niche or small in some ways compared to like movies or novels or anything. So not everybody reads them and not everybody understands them. But hopefully they will learn. I guess someday they'll figure it out.
I mean, the irony is like when you're on a big book like Death of Wolverine or Batman, they actually sell a lot more than most of the national bestsellers. 70,000 and it sells. So and look at these cons like Vienna Con where you come and it's huge.
Yeah, and everybody's wearing the costumes and everything. It's big.
Geek culture is huge, and I think the interesting thing is you're writing stories that a lot of people think comics are for kids or that stuff, but the adult population here and there. I mean, comics. There's such. I grew up with them, and superhero comics themselves I love reading now because I feel like they're more mature in many ways than they even were when I was a child, and yet not too dark for kids. But what I love about comics right now is that there's such a variety, meaning you can find something like Squirrel Girl or whatever for young readers. My children can read Adventure Time, that stuff. But then you have things that are image books too, like Kill or Be Killed or whatever, for adults. And people, I think, are starting to realize with cons this big and such sort of inclusive sensibility to comics now that there's something for everybody, So, I try and convince them not like, well, you have to read Batman or Superman or Spider-Man. If you don't like those things, there's so many different comics that are worth picking up. And then usually they find their way anyway.
Where it starts, like we don't always see it because we're in it very soon, because we're in it every single day. But if you look at where comics were sort of, like conventions were not like this 10 years ago. There was no Vienna Comic Con 10 years ago. And the, I guess, diffusion or explosion of these type of storytelling, graphic storytelling into the population at large has become, in the last decade, it's all over the place, really.
I think it's commercialized.
Yeah, some, but that's good.
It helped.
Well, both. I think both aspects. Like, when I was a kid, I would go to Comic-Con with my father in New York, and it was a bunch of old, white guys selling comics out of boxes.
Yep.
And now you come to a con and it's a diverse population. The one thing I'm always like, yeah, when we wanted it to be that when we were kids. We wanted it to be diverse and more women in comics, all of it.
Because then you could talk to girls about it.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I'm always like jealous. Where I was like, where were you when I was 16? Yeah. But the fun of it really is, you know, because you wanted to share that stuff, but it was a small. You loved it, but it was a small population. And now that it's so robust and so diverse, it's wonderful to see. And I think partly it's the movies and all that stuff, but I think also it's the fact that comics have become so much more expansive and diverse. Image Comics, you know, all those Boom and Dynamite and Dark Horse and IDW and.
And all the publishers, I mean, there's European publishers all over the place too. I mean, you know.
That's the amazing thing about coming here and seeing books that aren't translated yet into English. You guys have such a tradition of literary comics and comics that are so sophisticated.
Bunda and all the beautiful work like that.
It just feels different. Like when we were kids, I mean, for me, it was, you know, Marvel, DC, Image. Marvel,
Not
DC,
Image, right? Marvel, DC, really.
When it was Image too, Image was like Spawn.
Yeah, Youngblood.
Yeah. Right. So to see it become this now, I really feel like it's a real renaissance. It's like a golden time in comics. Yeah,
I think that's right.
When you're traveling, for example, like now, do you go to the local comic stores to see your work?
Yes, that's
we did.
Fun.
Yeah,
we did.
Maybe in other language, do you like to skip the pages and see other languages?
I was in where did I do a show? Someplace recently, but a guy brought me Death of Wolverine in Russian. I didn't even know that it had been done in Russian, but it was really cool. Like, it looked very tough, you know. But, you know, we came here, and I didn't even go in, but you went into the comic shop close to our hotel. And the guy was just like, American comics. He
didn't know, But it was okay. It was because you see all the beautiful comics that are here, and you're like, yeah, American comics, whatever.
Because we think we're very important, and then we go into the stores, it's like, I don't know who you are. Get out.
That's the fun. Yeah. It's that big of a tent, you know. Like it's everybody is welcome. You know, I can give my mother comics that are. I gave her. Whatchamadoodle, Swallow Me Whole, you know, the Nate Powell, you know, a memoir about family with struggling with mental illness in the family, in the genealogy, and then I can go read, you know, Secret Empire. But all of that is comics. That's what it's so wonderful right now because it's so big. There's something for any reader.
There's even Bible in comics.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's interesting.
I was in India, and they have a lot of the big texts, you know, Gilgamesh and the Ramayana and all these big Indian texts, they've done them as comics so that kids, or whoever really, can get into them. And I think comics is a very accessible storytelling format because it has, you know, pictures and words, and it's the synthesis of, it's able to achieve very strong emotional moments in a very unique way that really can hit hard with a reader. And so I think comics, you know, comics are cave paintings, right? Comics have been around forever. And they always will be, I think. And so I'm just happy that right now when we're doing it, they're as big as they are.
The point is, anyone that thinks comics is silly, it's wrong.
To make a picture and put words in it, it's just, I would call it all art.
It is all of everything. Colors, letters, all of it. Yep.
Yes. Readers should see it as a whole.
As a whole, yeah.
And not just like there is so little words, it doesn't count like a real book. I hate when they say that.
What I love about comics really is that the whole process from start to finish is a craftsman's process. Like none of it is done by, you know, like a computer or automated. It's not like, you know, if you buy a car, the car is made like in a factory and it's all off one template, it's all the same thing. But if you buy a comic, you're looking at the work of a team of a bunch of very, very skilled individuals. They're, you know, artisans who are using their craft to make this beautiful experience for you, which is something that a lot of other, I don't know, it's just a cool thing. I love it. Yeah,
the greatest thing about, I mean, like we talk all the time about the fact that we both have done or do prose, also like, you know, writing novels.
Yeah.
And comics, the joy is that it's so collaborative in that regard, where, you know, I talk to Capullo or you talk to Ron Gurney, whatever, all day, and you're making something together that's organic in that way. So there's a real feeling of, like, just like Charles said, you know, of teamwork on it, where you're making something.
Like you're in a band.
You're in a band. It is like a rock band.
Whenever you see one of your characters, especially one that you made up,
creator owned,
it's great. Or
I saw the best curse words. I saw it
at New York, right?
New York, yeah. There was a guy dressed as one of his characters. It was so good.
That makes you feel so good. You're like, people like care enough to spend time to make a costume.
Yeah.
It's just the best. It's really good.
The town, I saw that. That was great. Yeah, it was. You saw that crazy with the lighted eyes.
I took a picture with you.
It's our friend. He was really happy about it.
That's great.
I loved it. Yeah, it means so much to us when that happens because, you know, when you add something or you make something up and then you see people care enough to put that kind of time in. I mean, at the end of the day, comics, a lot of the time people think of it as this corporate thing or, you know, movies but it is, like just like you said, it's a bunch of people working together to sort of hone their craft to make something they care about. And when you guys or fans out there care enough to reciprocate that and make something that reflects that, it really means a lot.
I mean, every issue of a comic is 10,000 individual artistic choices made by people using their skill and experience, which is, it's like a, you know, like a marble carving. Like people have to do all those little tiny choices to make the beautiful sculpture, and that's what a comic is. It's 10,000 choices.
And people that you don't think about a lot of the people in it too, like lettering, all of it.
Colors, editing, all of them down the line. Yeah. It's wonderful.
Well, I did a bit of a research on Wikipedia, so I hope it's true. You were teaching at university?
Yeah, I used to. I used to teach at university, and now I teach at DC. Like I teach writers that they're hoping to bring in to do series. I do a class with them. When I was teaching university, it was a small class, so it was just, you know, it was just those people. And now with DC, I teach over the computer. So the people they're trying to bring in, the writers, are from all over the world. So somebody might be in South Africa and London and California, and so we all go online and talk to each other. So it's very intimate. I really love that. I mean, for me, it keeps me young as a writer to teach because you know, they come in and they really want to do their best work, and then it makes me feel like I have to go home and do the same.
How much can you interfere into Star Wars canon?
Interfere. That's a good word. I like that. I mess with it.
That would be
screw it up. Yes, they would say that. Charles is interfering again. I think maybe you mean like influence or.
How much are you limited by canon?
I am canon. Every story I make is part of the story, is part of the big story. So I work with what's called the Lucasfilm Story Group, which is an important, it's a group of people who work at Lucasfilm in San Francisco who know Star Wars inside and out, every piece of it. And they know what's coming up, so they know what happens in Episode 9, and they know what happens in Han Solo, they know all those things. When I'm talking about, well, here's what I want to do in Darth Vader, the Darth Vader comic, or anything, Poe Dameron, they'll say, well, Charles, maybe don't do this. And sometimes they tell me why, and sometimes they don't. But if they say, well, don't put in, I don't know, like there's an example was in Poe Dameron, we wanted our villain, a character named Terex, to wear an all-white outfit, cool all-white cape and everything. And they said, don't do that, because in Rogue One, the guy wore all white. And we didn't know at the time, they just said don't do it, but then a little bit later you see the trailer for Rogue One, you're like, well, that's why they said no. But the nice thing is that now that I've done so much Star Wars work, I've done like a lot, that they open the door more, so I know much more about what's coming up, about, you know, Episode 8 or whatever. But
this is amazing.
I'm
realizing how much you know.
I know, I'm so jealous of.
I talk to my friends and I'm like, you can ask me one question, ask me a question, I'll tell you an answer, and they usually don't. Like, you know, it's I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
It's amazing that it's so, like, they know ahead what to do.
Yeah, well, you have to, right? I mean, because if you know, the stories come. It takes a long time to make a movie or a story or whatever. Video games, it's all. But what's great about Star Wars right now is that all of the pieces, video games, TV shows, movies, comics, it's all part of the same story. So, you know, if I write a story in Darth Vader about how he got his lightsaber, that is how he got his lightsaber. That's it. So it's really fun.
My kids think he's way cooler than me because he wears Star Wars.
They're right. They're totally right.
Star Wars. They don't care about Batman any longer.
Okay, can I please ask you?
Yeah, of course. Sure.
And this is the Czech.
Oh, nice. Oh, I haven't seen the Czech. That's great.
So Upir, is
this vampire?
That's so cool.
And really ask you for komiksoch.
It says two komiksoch things and fangs are the teeth.
Oh, you know. It's fun.
Yeah, it is
Thank
fun.
You very much.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. No, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So much.
Really nice to meet you. Thank you.